All right. Well, hi everyone. My name's Kaydee. I know we have a few more alumni set to join us, and I also did receive a message. I know Meg Fishback is going to be joining us, but she said she'd be running a few minutes late to get on the call. So while we wait, perhaps we could go ahead. Let's see. We've got 1 minute to go, but maybe we could go ahead and start with some introductions. How about JK? You start us off. I see you.
All right, J.K. Campbell. I'm currently the Vice President of Academic Affairs and Dean of Faculty at Southwestern. And yeah, just have enjoyed being a part of helping launch this PA program. So excited about it.
Dr. McEwen, how about?
I'm Tammy McEwen. I'm currently the chair of the Natural Sciences Division and professor of biology. And in January, I will be moving into JK's position and be the chief academic officer.
Exciting. Because JK will be retiring, but good news, everyone. JK is going to be joining us in our office, in the advancement office, and will be a part-time development officer for the college. He's obviously well positioned to talk about all the exciting things that we're doing here on campus. And so we're really grateful to have him join our team and continue to work for the college just in a new way.
Yep, I appreciate the opportunity. So.
Yep, and from Baldwin Wallace. Or, I'm sorry, Baldwin City.
Baldwin City, yeah. Okay.
Speaking of Baldwin Wallace, why don't we go ahead and have
exactly.
Chandra and introduce herself.
That was a great lead-in. Chandra Lynch. I am the program director for this developing physician associate program. I moved here in January from the Cleveland area.
All right. My name's Kaydee Riggs-Johnson. I'm the Vice President for Advancement, Communications and Marketing, and I'm a Southwestern grad and glad to be working to support the development of the PA program. Ashley, who are you?
I'm Ashley. I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement here at Southwestern.
Awesome. Liz, I'm going to go ahead and I think everybody knows you. You kind of proceed without introductions, but I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Liz. I am very fortunate to be the 20th president of Southwestern College, and it was my crazy idea to bring back nursing and to move forward with the physician associate program. So I have been so excited to work on this with these people, and I'm grateful to be with all of you today. It's been a lot of fun. It's a great labor of love.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a good and fruitful journey already, and I'm excited to talk a little bit more about the program. So just a little layout of the format. I'm going to engage these folks in some questions and talk about the PA program and progress made. At the end, we'll have some time for questions and answers and conversation from all participating on the call. And as I said, I know we had, I think, maybe 8 in total alumni who RSVP'd. So I'm guessing we'll have a few more jump on as we continue the conversation. But again, these calls are recorded. We put them up on the alumni website, and we share them out. So just so you all are aware of that, it becomes available and it's archived. So with that, I would ask. I'm going to start with Liz. To maybe talk about your experience starting a PA program and what you saw as you joined us at Southwestern, why you felt like it was appropriate to begin that discussion here.
Sure. No, absolutely. I got the wonderful opportunity to be in JK's position and Tammy's soon-to-be position at Teal College when we decided to innovate on the academic side hugely in the 5 years that I was the Vice President for Academic Affairs. And without a doubt, the fundamentally most important program that college added was a physician assistant or associate program. And so I got to be involved from the academic side, help with facilities, help with the fundraising for it. And that college in Pennsylvania is in an area where, not unlike ours, it's a rural community and much, much, much needed practice professionals is the wave of the future. So it was not hard to think about the benefits of a program like that. And as I joined the college, actually before I even joined, when I interviewed, it was clear to me the incredible strength we have in the natural sciences. So if we're going to lean forward with things, we should lean on things, my belief is, in areas that are natural strengths for us, that the market needs, that have great opportunities for our students, great opportunities for our students to stay in our community and go where they can serve. So for me, it was mission aligned, easily mission aligned with our service mission as good Methodists, and aligned with our strengths and what the market needs and what we need in society. So it was, for me, not at all hard to figure out where we could lean that would make sense for Southwestern College. And so we're leaning heavily into the natural sciences and healthcare fields, which will be on the horizon for the next at least couple decades as the boomers continue to age. So it's I think it was pretty obvious.
And I think maybe provide a little information about the context more broadly for education and why a graduate program makes sense.
Makes sense, sure. So we will all get to begin to experience what we not so affectionately refer to around our parts as a demographic cliff. Beginning next year, for fall 2026, there will be fewer 18-year-olds. This comes out of the Great Recession we all lived through in the latter part of the 2000s. So as a college like ours in a rural area, in a small community, in a private college, without a humongous endowment, we've never had a large endowment, we're probably never going to have a large endowment. We needed to find ways to really, I'm working on it, Kaydee, we're working on it, but you know, we are a scrappy little college in a scrappy little town. So we like that ethos. But anyway, finding really new revenue streams, new ways to attract different students not currently available to us to the college is really important. And so when you're going to have fewer undergraduates, it makes sense, if you can, to build into graduate programs. And so as we think about this, you know, we have good partnerships with Cali College, our local community college. You know, we will never compete with Cali on price. We don't want to. We will lose that fight every single day of the week. We can grow up and we can serve our community in a different way than they can. So we can partner with Cali College in ways that are awesome for all of us. And yet we can tread our own territory. And really, at the end of the day, simply not compete with them. That's the idea. Because we will lose that every single day on price alone. So we want to get out of the constant conversation around per credit charge and that kind of thing. And so finding students who we could add value for, that we could do uniquely in our own way, was really important to us. And we feel like graduate students in particular is an untapped market, and we can do that. We already have graduate programs. It's a natural fit for us. So,
sure. Thanks. So on that note, I'm going to ask Chandra to talk a little bit about the profession of, well, first of all, so PA, we're saying physician associates today, and that's the way we've decided to frame our program. Maybe I think there's a lot, as I interact with alumni, there's a lot of question around that. Why physician associate, not physician assistant? And then also just generally talk about the career path of PAs and how they sort of fit into healthcare needs in our country.
The name change, I have mixed feelings about that myself, and I think that a lot of PAs, we'll just call them PAs, it's much easier. So way back in the early 70s, when the profession was created, they had to come up with a name to standardize, and they used physician assistants. But a lot of people did not like that name, and for years they've kind of fought back on that name, because I think it's often confused with like a medical assistant. So it doesn't really maybe describe exactly how we work in the healthcare team. So a couple years ago, our professional organization, their House of Delegates, voted to officially change the name. The problem with changing the name is that at the state level and all the, for credentialing reasons, it's a lot, there's a lot of legal documents that have to be changed. So some states and organizations still use assistant, and some have switched to associate. We figured we're doing a new program, why not, start with associate now? But you will find me very often, I have to catch myself, I will still say physician assistant, or, in our documents. I just actually did a document check in our application today to make sure that I replaced all of the assistant with associate.
So just, it's a recognition of sort of a change within the field. And of course, with the National Association making that move, it makes a lot of sense for us to adapt to that. So then talk a little bit, Chandra, about how the need for PAs, as you know, as it is a profession, how it fits into that healthcare team that you mentioned, and the kind of work that PAs do.
Yeah, so there's been well known for a long time for a lot of reasons, the aging population, as President Liz just mentioned, and fewer people going into healthcare and medicine. There's a huge physician shortage. And I just was looking at a statistic the other day. They said that after COVID, something like over 100,000 nurses and 100,000, I think those are the correct numbers, physicians left healthcare. So we have this huge shortage, and as we are collectively sometimes called with nurse practitioners, they sometimes use the term advanced practice providers. That includes PAs, NPs. You know, these folks really help increase access to healthcare for patients, you know, facing this physician shortage, and it's especially felt in rural areas.
Nice. Tammy, I'm going to ask you, just from your experience working with our undergraduate population, how do you see our students, what level of interest, and has there been an increasing interest in health sciences? And then maybe talk a little bit about recent grads that we've had who've been looking for PA programs to join.
Yeah. I would say yes, over the last 5 to 10 years, there has been increased interest in the health sciences. In fact, in 2016, when we developed the health science degree, it was in response to losing students who were looking for that kind of degree, something where they could focus more specifically on those courses they needed to prepare for professional school, rather than just a more traditional broad-based biology degree. We've had several recently that have applied or recently graduated from PA school, and we have some that are kind of in the pipeline now that are like, okay, when I'm ready to apply, I can apply here, or if I take a gap year, maybe I can apply here. But I met with a student 2 weeks ago that just graduated from a PA program in Indianapolis. I can think of 2 or 3 that are practicing, you know, have completed and are practicing and are being quite successful. We have just this semester, or this school year, those that are graduating, we have 1, 2, at least 3 of them that are currently applying to programs, and one who's already been accepted into 2 different programs and gets to, you know, choose where she wants to go, and another one that has an interview in 2 weeks. So
sure. And so, I mean, as we think about how the students that we attract at Southwestern College and their interests, this is really both an answer to providing them that graduate experience that they're maybe looking for, and an answer to need in our community. On that note, Liz, I'd like to just maybe talk a little bit about, both you and Chandra and JK have been out sort of beating the drums to find clinical rotation spots, and what that conversation has looked like with area healthcare providers, and sort of what their level of interest in this program is.
Sure. No, thank you. And I'll be brief and then let the other 2 jump in too. So when you think about the really hard pieces of launching a program and maintaining a program like a physician associate master's program, the 2 hardest pieces are finding the right faculty, because there aren't that many of them, and finding enough clinical sites for us. So we're going to ask for 40 students in a cohort. They each do 10 rotations. So we have to show to the accreditor that we have 400 sites of the right kind that we need to take our students. And I'm going to let Chandra tell you where we are. How about that? Because that's fun. So.
Yeah, so as she said, we have to show that we have spots for all 40 of those students, and there are 7 required core rotations, and then our students will do an extra primary care rotation, and then they'll have a choice of 2 electives. So we have to show, even if we're only taking 25 in our first cohort, we still have to show that we have the 40 sites. About a month ago, I reached out to our administration and said, I'm really worried. Here's where I'm at. I've got about 3/4 of them and I'm stuck. And they came through, and I'm happy to say that we have all 400 that we need. We're still looking, of course. We're going to keep adding to that list, but we have the 400 that we need.
So, and on that note, Chandra, where are we at in our application process for that specialized accreditation?
Well, it is due. It is due next Thursday. So I just sent out, I just sent the final draft out today. So everyone's going to take a look at that. We're going to meet on Monday, and hopefully by Wednesday, I'm going to submit it a day early. There are about 20 appendices that also go with the application, and we have more than about 3/4 of those completed. So over the weekend, we're going to finish those up. So we'll be hitting send on Wednesday. We have then a site visit in February, and then they will give us their final decision in July.
Yeah. Kaydee, you asked, just so we can make sure people hear this, you asked kind of how people have been receptive to working with our students. So I got to go out to God's country last week. I got to go out Southwestern Kansas, which I love going to. We have so many people out that way who are our people. Well, yeah, John's on it. I went to Garden City. I have to tell you all, if you have not seen the Garden City Hospital lately, oh my gosh, I am so excited for our students to go to Garden City. They have, now it's a regional hub hospital because of course you're out there. They have 4 OBGYNs in that system. They have 4 pediatricians. We have one of each in this county. And luckily enough, the OBGYN is Dr. Miller, who was one of ours and is a trustee of the college. So he'll be giving us rotations. But I have to tell you, as I have worked with these hospital administrators, and you should know me well enough to know that I'm really good at getting to yes. This is what I really like to do. People don't like telling me no. That's just a reality of my job. So I like that. It works for me. So anyway, it's been a lot of fun to work with hospitals, particularly in the rural areas, because they are so excited, right? They have huge need for all kinds of medical providers. And so part of what makes our program different is that we will also have a direct entry program for high school seniors to come through the undergraduate program and have a spot for them in the PA program. And so what I really want to see happen is our college at the undergraduate level recruit more students from rural communities whose entire goal perhaps is to go home and serve their communities. I really feel like we're positioned uniquely to do this, be an amazing positive force for helping to repopulate essential medical providers in rural communities. Close to the college, of course, is Southwestern Kansas for all the reasons. All the good Methodists out there sent their kids to us. So it's a nice way for us to repay our history and our people. So it's been easy. It's been fun. They're just excited. And we will be the only program in the state of Kansas that is actually located in a small community. That was by design. You should know that. We could have put it in Wichita. We didn't. It is an 800 main place in Winfield, Kansas by design. Okay, I'll stop talking.
Yeah, on that note, I'm going to ask Chandra to talk a little bit about the space at 800 Main Place, which is currently under construction. And of course, some of you listening might think, okay, so you guys haven't submitted your final application yet, but you're in the midst of construction at 800 Main Place here in Winfield. Talk about that timeline and that decision making, and how that has to come to be.
Sure. If I could say one thing real quick, though, just kind of based on the last comments. I came from an area that was kind of more urban area right outside of Cleveland, and we had 17 programs in the state. And so providers were inundated with requests to take students. So it has been really refreshing being out here in a rural area. We don't have as many huge hospital systems, but between administrators and providers, they've been really excited to take students because they see it as a recruitment tool as well. So I would just wanted to add that. So the space, again, in preparation for our accreditation visit coming up in February, our accreditor wants to see that we have dedicated space and not just a promise of space or a blueprint about what we're going to do. They want to see the space, that it's functional and it's ready to go. So we have major renovations going on. It's divided into 2 phases. So phase 1 will be more to make sure that we have the space for the students. It's going to involve a dedicated classroom. It's going to involve what we're calling kind of a classatory area. It's kind of a lab skills area where the students will kind of practice all of their procedures and physical exam type skills. And then right next to that, we also kind of inherited a space that was previously a medical office. So it has exam rooms already built in. So we'll be using that space as well. And we'll be installing a vault system, which is kind of the camera system, so that we can film and record the students doing their skills with standardized patients, so that we can use that to grade them, but then they can also watch those interactions. So we're really excited about the space. Phase 2 will start in the next couple of years, and that'll be more kind of just expanding, building a more formal, fancy student lounge, and then our faculty office spaces.
Yeah, so and having been in the space and seeing, right now it's demolition. They're clearing out the spaces and making preparation, but we're kind of in the phase where we're getting to select finishes and really seeing it, imagining that come together in the way that our prospective PA students will interact with that space and will really call that space home in a lot of ways, is pretty exciting. So good progress, and it makes it very exciting. So
Jim has a question.
Yeah, Jim, you've raised your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious, what's the cadence for marketing the program, recruiting the students, evaluating the candidates? What sort of credentials, if you're talking about recruiting somebody right out of high school into this program, how do you make that evaluation? So when does the first class start, and how far before that are you going to start reviewing and recruiting applicants?
Chandra, I'm going to let you field that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to participate, as most PA programs do, in a program called CASPA. It stands for Central Application Service or Application Service for PAs. And students can apply through that program, and then they can apply to multiple programs that way. So that cycle opens in April. We plan to matriculate the first class in January of 2027. So in April of 2026, that application cycle will open. We'll start reviewing applications. We'll set a deadline probably for July or August, and then conduct interviews in the fall to finalize that class. Students have to have a bachelor's degree coming in. They can be in the process of finishing their degree or the prerequisites for the course, as long as it's completed by the time they would matriculate into the program. We'll focus pretty heavily on things that we know are tried and true as far as success in the program, and a big one is GPA. So we'll be looking at that. But we're also going to offer some preferential admission for students from Kansas or Oklahoma, also U.S. veterans, and those with healthcare experience. It's not required, but it's preferred.
And if I can add, for the undergraduate direct entry program, Chandra and her team have set up or will set up very, they had to be really, really, really strong high school seniors for admission as freshmen at Southwestern College, and we'll set up very, very rigorous progression requirements as they move through. And of course, then they have to take the same prerequisites as part of their undergraduate experience and all of that. So it just basically what it does is it says it's your spot to keep if you fulfill the requirements at the end of the day. But it's a nice way for us to recruit undergraduates who have a sense of where they want to go. And not all will stay, not all will make it. They'll change their minds and do all the things that undergrads do. But, for those who know what they want to do, It's a good fit. It's not accelerated. That's by design. It's 4 years. They graduate in May, presumably after 4 years, unless they bring in credit or whatever they do. And then they start the graduate program the following January. So, yeah.
We've got a question from John. You want to go ahead?
Well, I can address a little bit of that because we do that here. I teach one of our cohorts of high school students. We have an alliance with our hospital, our K through 12 schools, and Missouri State, which is our 4-year university. And we're in our 2nd year of those cohorts. And, you know, my high school students hang with our college students academically. Now, maturity level, they do not. And what we have found is that, you know, we've done exactly what Liz says. We have a very, you know, the problem is the parents, not the students. And we talk with the parents and say, look, you're signing your kid up for this. So, you know, they are a college student. We take this very seriously, and we have the backing of our, our president. We don't call him a chancellor here, but our chancellor has backed us 100% in the people that we have flunked out, and we've flunked out quite a few, and we don't put up with anything. They're doing well. We use them as a cohort, and we're talking about this now. We have them all as high school students for their first level. So I teach them nutrition in their first thing, but we're integrating them now into our anatomy and our physiology classes. And they do much better when we integrate them with college students, because the college students keep them in line. And so, as far as academically, they're doing just fine. So I just wanted to address that.
I'd just like to point out and add to the conversation. We have a HOSA program, which is a health occupations program at Winfield High School that is very strong. They have, I don't even know how many students are participating in it now.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 50 to 100, somewhere in there. In fact, my daughter she's a freshman, and she's attended the HOSA conference. And so it's interesting how they're able, as high school students, they're doing job shadowing, they're getting all of this experience, and it's really helping them to align that career path so that it is completely possible that as an 18-year-old, they may know, like, with some assurance, that the PA path is for them. And so when we can market to them a program like this, I think it will be very powerful. And like Liz said, it's very possible that people will jump off that path. But I think having Chandra's experience working with students, she has the ability to see who has potential to be successful, as an 18-year-old. So
I'll jump back in there real quick. Sorry, Liz, I didn't mean to cut you off. But this is a very important point, because the students that we're flunking out stay at our institution. So they're selecting other majors now. Right. So they are becoming our undergraduate students, whether, because they've just decided that's not what I can do, but we've guided them into other. So you're going to increase your enrollment through those that drop out is what we're seeing. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there.
Exactly.
I'm going to go ahead and let Jim, you've got another question.
And Steph has a question too, Kaydee, just so you know. You can't see her, so.
My question kind of goes back to, you have recruiting and selection. You might not be able to tell, but I'm pretty old. And I went to graduate school when you had to take all kinds of tests to get in. And somebody asked about, is there a minimum ACT? Is there something like the MCAT or the GRE? I know those are kind of passe, and a lot of higher ed that don't attend to those anymore. But bringing in a young person who you don't want them to fail, you want to have the appropriate selection process. So are there any testing things like that are standard?
Well, I can speak to the program I came from. We use the GRE for admission through the traditional path to our program. but we did not find that it correlated in any way with performance. So for this program, we're not requiring it.
Yeah, well,
As far as the direct entry program, I believe, and I have to ask Stephanie DeLong, basically what I had said about the direct entry program is I don't know anything about high school students and undergraduate students. I only have worked with them once they get to the point of graduate school. So I will defer to their wisdom on setting those requirements. I believe they are going to use ACT. I don't know if JK or Liz, if you can, or Tammy, if you.
well, I thought that, of course, my information's all old. GRE wasn't necessarily correlated with success unless you had if you had a really poor score and you got in, you were probably going to fail. It didn't help on the upside, but it really screened out the lower scores. So a minimum was what a lot of the analysis said, but that was a long time ago.
No, and I would have to say to that, the data that we used was internal, and I would have to say that we didn't set a minimum for the GRE, but just given the nature of these students and their GPAs, we have a minimum of 3.0, and I think our average GPA for the past several years was like a 3.8. So automatically, most of those students are probably going to have higher GRE scores. I would say the lowest scores we were looking at probably were like that we would see were maybe 60th percentile. So they were doing pretty well on those.
Just really quickly before I defer to Steph for her question, Chandra, maybe talk a little bit about how competitive it is to get into a PA program in that placement process.
Yeah, I don't have the exact statistics on it. My statistics are probably old, but it used to be something like for every 8 applicant, there was 1 seat for every 8 applicants or somewhere around there. The program I came from, we would get anywhere from 600 to 900 applicants for 35 seats. Now, that said, probably about 150 of those you could immediately just toss in the trash because they didn't meet the minimum requirements. But it is very competitive. And in the little bit of snooping that I've done, Wichita State, I believe interviews around 100 students and only accepts about, I believe, 40 is their class size. So I would think that for the first year, when you're a new program, you're kind of at a disadvantage because you don't have the reputation behind you yet. So you're probably not going to get the strongest or the most competitive applicants. But I imagine the first year will be getting kind of the those that didn't get into Wichita State, we may be getting a lot of those students and they may be very qualified. That was my experience, back home. We looked at our first cohort that we took and they did very well. We had slightly higher attrition in that class than subsequent classes, but the ones that, got through, they did very well. And sadly, as the program grew and had a reputation, we said those first students wouldn't even get in today, based on which is sad because like I said, they did very well, but it just gets so competitive that, that happens over time.
Yeah, thank you. Steph.
Yeah, and I was remembering back to last weekend when we were talking about both the PA program and the nursing program, and I think I was confusing that we had, very high incoming ACT scores required for nursing, and I was wondering, and I thought we had also talked about some sort of incoming test for the PA program, but I think I must be confusing that. So my apologies.
I do believe there is going to be a minimum ACT for the direct entry for the PA to be accepted into that. And yes, you're right. Nursing does have a required minimum ACT score. So
well, and if you think
high.
Yeah. And if you think about the direct entry program, the benefit to this is as you all know, our natural science division is incredibly strong. And so the students who get admitted as high school seniors all the way into a graduate program they've taken the hardest classes in high school. They've taken the science classes. They're good. They're great students. They're great young people. And they're with our faculty the whole time through. So we know what they have in anatomy and physiology. That's Pat, my friends. You all know Pat. That's Pat Ross. They're going to have maybe Tammy, depends on what she can teach when she's the dean, but we'll figure that out. We know who they have for micro. We know who they have for OChem. Like, we know their educational experience. So we know them from, Chandra hasn't yet worked with undergraduates in this way yet, but she'll be able to have her team great confidence in what her colleagues, our people are doing in those foundational science classes. And as someone who actually, Teal had an accelerated program in the sciences, while I love them, we're less strong than ours are here. But here we have, so we know if they've got, Tammy or Jen in micro, what they're doing in that class. And it's not easy is the point. And we don't want it to be easy for them. We want it to be rigorous and meaningful. So when they get to PA, they're ready to rock and roll, because the number one accreditation requirement is the PANCE, passing the PANCE exam. So we want to make sure that whoever is admitted into our program and gets to the PANCE at the end of the day, that certifying examination, they're ready to pass it in the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We didn't really cover, I mean, I know Chandra, you mentioned the Wichita State's program, which of course opened in the mid 1970s. It was one of the first PA programs in the nation. But in the state of Kansas, let's talk a little bit about other programs and maybe why we have identified this as a market that we can offer an answer to.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, Wichita State for many, many years was the only game in town. And then around 2020, I believe, Kansas State started a program. And now we are one of two new programs that are developing. Ottawa is also developing a program. They actually just got their notification that they did get their provisional accreditation. So congrats to them. So we're about a year maybe behind them. They're going to matriculate their first class in January, but we will only be the fourth program in the state. So.
And Liz already mentioned, but Ottawa is opening their program in the Kansas City market. So again, and I think maybe also just talking a little bit about sort of the value set behind our program and sort of that missional approach being based in a rural community and really leaning into that. It used to be, I think Southwestern was known for matriculating teachers and preachers. And that is still true, I think, for us, but that sort of service ethos and who we are and our desire to help people and to be of a community, I think the PA program is really framed around that and what our mission and who our core identity as an institution, we're leaning into that. So. Because you're right, Liz, we could open a program in Wichita or in Durham, but it's intentional to locate the PA program on Main Street in Winfield, Kansas.
And the curricular focus of the program will be in primary care and in rural health. And so again, we're leaning, as Katie mentioned, really fully and intentionally into what it means to be of service to the community that we serve and the communities like our community that we serve best. And so it really is, it's missional for us. It's intentional. It is living into who we are as good Methodists. So for me, it's all of one piece. It makes total sense. It's fully integrated. It's easy to talk about because it just is who we are. And I will tell you, in the fundraising side of it, we have raised, it should be by the end of the year, I think it'll be $1.4 million for this program. And we do not have a wealthy donor base. But I think it's because it's so compelling. It's so natural for who we are. It moves us. It is hard to do. If you have not gotten that impression, my friends, this is hard. And we are so fortunate to have an amazing program director, but this is hard work to launch a program like this. But it's been pretty easy to fundraise I think because it all just makes sense. It's easy for me to talk about anyway, and that's pretty compelling for a lot of people. So
maybe Liz, to that, it might be an appropriate moment to talk about how introducing a PA program to an institution like Southwestern, what does that do for us as an investment?
Yeah, it is. And I say this when I'm out talking to donors and alums. Of all the things that I'm working on, this is the single most important thing I should be working on right now as a college, as the president. It will, conservatively, it will throw off, once it's fully launched and fully enrolled with 40 students in the 2 cohorts that they don't overlap in the building, but they overlap in terms of their time in the program because it's a 24-month program. It will throw off conservatively $1.5 million on a budget right now that's about $21 million. It is huge for us. It allows us as a college to continue the investment in ourselves and our people. New programs, as I think about, getting the college to 2035, right? That's our 150th birthday. We're going to have one heck of a party, my friends. This program allows us to keep our foot on the gas. So we're not slowing down. I'm not slowing down. And that's partly for our own people, by the way. I'm not slowing down. We're going to keep rolling. But it does, I know that's not a threat, it's just a promise. So that it provides for us the revenue that allows us to keep innovating in ourselves, because that's going to need, for a college like ours in a rural area, small community that's been here for 140 years with a small endowment. This is just the reality for all of us. And it's an awesome reality. I love the challenge. I would be bored if it were not so challenging. Yeah. So, but this program for us is critical in this moment. It allows us to do all the things that we needed to do and allows us to serve our community, and then provides us with revenue to keep us moving forward so we can keep doing and keep building the builders that we've built for 140 years. So that's my goal. And if that's not compelling to you, then you should ask me a question, but that's pretty compelling in my experience with it.
On this phone call.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you might want to jump off if that's not compelling for you. Yeah. Anyway, I hope what you can really hear, if nothing else, is that this is so fun. It's so hard, but it is so fun, and it's so essential, and it's what's going to keep our college moving forward. So I'm grateful every day. So
thanks, Liz. I wanted to ask too, Chandra, about as we sort of project out what the future for PAs look like, sort of what is our answer as an institution to that, and maybe talk a little bit about the Doctorate of Medical Sciences and your colleague Jared and what he's doing in development of that program.
Yeah, so, I think, back when I became a PA many, many years ago, it was, in a lot of places, it was an associate's degree. And then it went to a master's. And there's a lot of talk and a lot of controversy right now about that move to a doctoral, like a clinical doctorate degree. Nurse practitioners have gone in that route. So, a lot of the nurse practitioners, physical therapists, pharmacists, they've all gone to this clinical doctorate. So I think that eventually it will be the entry, kind of the entry level. But in the meantime, a lot of more and more PAs are pursuing that doctoral degree, that clinical doctorate degree, kind of in anticipation. So we have also, or are also, launching a doctoral of medical sciences program, and it will primarily be for PAs that want to pursue that. And once we have our own graduates, though, our program, our master's program, will kind of act as a feeder for that program, but we'll also take external candidates. So in developing that program, since it's going to be online, I worked for many years at the program I came from. Jared Pennington was our founding program director, and I was a founding faculty member. And then he moved into an associate dean role at the college, and I moved into the program director role. So we've worked for many years together, and it was always his dream at Baldwin Wallace to start a doctoral program, and he just couldn't get the interest of administration to get it off the ground. So he was very excited to join us. Now he's currently serving as a principal faculty member in the master's program, but he will be transitioning to a full-time role as the director of that DMSC program. So.
Yeah, and I just had a call. He and I had a call scheduled on Monday to talk about marketing of the DMSC program and what how we get out to PAs in this moment before we have our own PA grads. And he's incredibly knowledgeable and really a great get for our institution, and is working hard to build a program that is really useful. He's not interested in just people achieving a credential. He wants them to earn it and for it to be useful in their practice and what they do in the world. And so the way he's developing curriculum is so centered on that. And so it'll be, I'm excited for him, and I'm excited for us to have that added to our online suite of coursework. So I'm just going to open it up now. If there are any other folks joining us on the call who have any questions, now's an appropriate time to field those, or if JK or Tammy or Ashley, if there's anything that you feel like maybe I haven't asked or we haven't gotten to that might be worth highlighting, now would be a good time to do that. I've kind of gotten through my round of questions. I do want to give a special shout out to Steph Kessler, who is joining us from Anchorage. Steph, what time is it there?
It's 9:15, so it's actually a humane hour.
Okay. All right.
As opposed to other times where it's 5:30.
Yeah, we select the 11 a.m. Central Standard Time for our coffee chats, trying to sort of center ourselves, but that doesn't necessarily apply if you're in Alaska. So.
Right. No, it's still okay.
Okay, good. Anybody, anything to add for the good of the group? Liz, maybe you might talk a little bit about the Mabee grant that we received and how we're using that as a challenge to.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were very, very, okay. So, we're doing all this stuff, right? And we're going to ask a lot of people for money, right? I mean, we're not known for being very shy or being very subtle. So the Mabee Foundation is a foundation in Texas, and their thing is bricks and mortar, capital projects. And so they have given us a challenge grant, and we have until July 8th, I think is the date, to raise an additional $354.78 or something, $355,000. I really like it to be done by the end of this calendar year, because we have plans to apply again for phase 2 of construction, but you have to wait 2 years. So you see, in my world, there's a lot of, if we get it done this day, we can do this, and then we can do this, and then we can do this. Okay. Anyway, they've given us $200,000 if we can meet this challenge. We are not far off from it, but we're not quite there yet. But we are grateful for that. The state of Kansas, actually, for the first time ever a couple years ago, gave grants to the 21 private universities in Kansas. We got a part. We got a second part for the PA program. So the state of Kansas has come in with about $150,000 to help support the launching of the PA program as well. So we have been very fortunate to have some players come in to help us. We will apply again for Mabee. We will, as soon as the Sunderland Foundation puts theirs out in December. If it's appropriate, we will also apply for Sunderland Foundation money. We will reapply for a bunch of other grants too. We have some special projects we are working, and I'm so glad that both John and Meg Fishback are on this call, because we have within the broader sort of PA campaign, we have one that is specifically to honor Dr. Jim Fishback, who is John's older brother, and Meg's late husband, who is a 1977 graduate who taught at KU Med for 28, 29 years, 30 years, Meg, something in that neighborhood. And he taught much of the first sort of foundational science courses for med students. And so we are hoping to name the full classatory space, this flexible classroom and kind of skills lab for PA students, after Dr. Jim Fishback. So we're working on that campaign. That's been really fun to engage people who were who are really good friends with Meg, really good friends, his roommates, friends, classmates from the late 70s and the sciences, really a strong time for the college. So we're moving that ahead. But that's of special interest because we get to honor someone who I wish I had had a chance to meet. He was an active trustee when he passed away, and Meg has just joined our board of trustees largely to honor Jim. So I don't know if Meg would want to say anything about Jim or John wants to say anything about Jim, but it's a special person.
So I'll go first, and sorry I was late and I was the anonymous MF on there. I had another appointment. So no, I just appreciate all the work that Liz, you and Chandra are doing, and Kaydee and everyone, Tammy and JK. It's really an awesome opportunity for me to understand more about what you're doing, but also to keep Jim's name and his, what I think would have been of huge interest to him. And so keep up the fundraising, and we'll get there. And now, John, it's just such a pleasure to get to see you. I told him to smile. So let me turn it over to John, who really does have a good smile.
Well, I mean, Jim was an educator. I know he was a doctor, but he was really an educator, and he won many awards for his teaching at KU, and he won the Chancellor's Award one year for the whole campus of KU. So he was an amazing teacher, and I know he would be very happy that we're doing this. And I see his friend Joe. Hi, Joe. Dr. Ramsey here, and you know, Meg and I haven't had a chance to talk about, we haven't even tapped into those people yet for contributions. And then I have people that are in my classes when I was at SC. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, thank you both for your work to support the program. Joe, did you raise your hand or you say hi? No.
I hit the wrong button. I was just waving hi and I stuck up the wrong icon. So no, again, very happy to see this moving forward in such a way, and so happy that Jim's legacy is going to be honored in such a fantastic format there at Southwestern.
Yeah, I can say a couple of weeks ago when I was at 800 Main, you know, demolition is ongoing, but we were walking in the space that will be named for Jim, and it was pretty it was cool to imagine PA students sitting there and learning and engaging with a digital dissection table and all the cool stuff that's going to be in that space. And so yeah, it's a pretty incredible, it's an incredible lift for an institution, and it's incredibly important, but I think it's the kind of work that makes us all feel really proud. And it's an exciting time at Southwestern, you know, having been here for 10 years, to have these kinds of conversations and to be dreaming in this way for the future of our students is pretty exciting. So JK, do you have something to add on that?
No, I hit the wrong button too, Joe. I guess it's catching here. So.
So okay, well, we've successfully been at it for over 50 minutes here. If there are any closing comments, now would be the moment. Otherwise, I just want to really share our gratitude with all of you who are on the call. Of course, Chandra and Liz, who have been, and JK and Tammy, all of you have been working so hard. A lot of hours, a lot of energy to make this a reality. And so thanks for hopping on here today. Thanks for to all of you alums and good friends of the college, trustees who've joined us. We really are, it's as I look out my window, it's a lovely day on campus. And we're blessed to be here and to be doing this work and to have such good friends as we try to move it all along. So with that, we will be, we're working to fill out our coffee chat series for the remainder of the academic year. So pay attention. We'll be sending out emails and posting about other opportunities to learn from faculty and staff on campus about things that are going on and that we're pretty proud of. So yeah, with that, I guess I'll let you guys all go back into your day, and thanks again. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you.